Beal for a couple of young players, and by that I think two good. Basically, still continue to try to win, but trade him away for a bigger package, perhaps with some of their expiring contracts, such as Markieff Morris included in sweeteners. I think two good destinations for him would be. I don't know if you like this, but I think Boston. Maybe you could trade away a Markieff Morris and Bradley Beal for Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward, or trading him away to Orlando for a package built around Aaron Gordon and Evan Fournier. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I think Bradley Beal is a tough one to change. I don't know if I would make the Aaron Gordon deal just because they're about the same age, and I do believe that Bradley Beal is a better player.
Well, you could perhaps involve a Jonathan Isaac, where you get a couple of young players back in return for him, just to get more. I think in this term it's about volume as compared to talent. Yes, Bradley Beal is more talented, but you're at least getting a volume of players.
The second deal you proposed with Jaylen Brown, I mean, since I think Boston would really have to think about that deal because we're obviously seeing what's going on with Gordon Hayward, and Jaylen Brown has pretty much taken a little bit of a step back, even though this is a short season so far. Maybe this is just a third year slump that's happening that he'll get out of. But Bradley Beal is still relatively young. We know what he can do, and he probably would be a good fit alongside Kyrie Irving and the rest of the talent they have there. I do think that the biggest on the wish list, and I know you mentioned this, would definitely have to be to find some suitor for John Wall. I know it seems like it's very hard, but we have seen that there are some stupid NBA GMs out there. And I think the biggest thing would still be to trade John Wall. For instance, I know this is probably going to piss you off if I propose this, but
don't do it. Don't do it.
If the Lakers strike out in this summer and the Lakers don't sign any of their players that they want to, I can see GM Rich Paul and LeBron James finding a way to make a trade for John Wall. Now,
you mean if they struck out on Anthony Davis too?
If they struck out on Anthony Davis and they struck out on
Bradley Beal
and Kevin Durant and whatever, I could just see it happening. And then I know you brought this up before, but the Detroit Pistons can be a suitor, and maybe the Phoenix Suns.
If I'm a Suns fan, I'm cringing right now too. He fits nowhere near their plans.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that there are teams out there. We thought that the Blake Griffin trade would be untradeable, and the LA Clippers got a Tobias Harris out of it. Okay, so there's a world here that John Wall can get traded. I know it's hard to believe sometimes, but like I said, there's very bad GMs out there. There's people who make mistakes, and I can see it happening.
I mean, yes. I mean, apparently the New York Knicks had an offer ready. Obviously, that might have just been speculation, but they were willing to trade a first-round pick and Frankie Smokes. So, I guess, like you said, anything is possible.
And then I have no idea what happened there.
I mean, it might still be on the table. Who knows? I don't know if I necessarily.
If you're the Wizards, in my opinion, you take that right away. But then again, the Wizards might be bad because they also just gave him this contract.
And I mean, they just went on and got Trevor Ariza, as terrible as they've been. So I don't know. Who knows?
All right, Orlando Magic currently 14-9. What's on your wish list, Danny?
I mean, get some backcourt help. Get some young backcourt players. If you could. I mean, again, I don't know how I feel about them trading Aaron Gordon, specifically with how many good players they've already traded, players that have become to be real good players. So I don't necessarily know if trading Aaron Gordon is smart. Like I said, if you could get a Bradley Beal in return for him, you do it. You do it right away. Another lesser option, maybe perhaps trading away a Jonathan Isaac to, again, I'm going to bring them up again, Boston, for a Terry Rozier and a first-round pick, a late first-round pick. Considering how much promise Jonathan Isaac had, that might not be the worst move for Boston to make, and Orlando gets a guard and gets to keep Aaron Gordon in this situation. But yeah, I think other than that, yeah, just get some backcourt help.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much disagreement with you there. I do believe that, another deal they can do is maybe get rid of Vucevic, and that's another way they can get some
Oh yeah.
backcourt help. Um, Maybe some younger assets. I also think they're a little bit too good. So I would say losing a little bit more games can be on their wish list.
Well, they have been lately. They're 14-19 now. I mean, they've lost a lot.
Yeah, but there's a world where they can be in those bottom tier of teams, especially if they were to move some of their better players. I do think it's interesting that you bring up that they have traded, Oladipo to Tobias Harris. So seeing Aaron Gordon go and shine somewhere else would be, it'd be pretty hard to watch if you're a Magic fan.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Vucevic and Terrence Ross have to go. Have to go. You have to find someone to trade them. I mean, I understand that you might. I think Terrence, you're probably more likely to get a first-round pick for Terrence Ross than you are for Vucevic, even though Vucevic has been playing a little better. Just because I don't know how many teams reasonably can. I mean, a lot of teams can can use a Vucevic, but I don't know. Teams will prioritize Terrence Ross more than they will Vucevic because of his shooting ability and because of the lack of a need for centers in the league. But you have to be able to find something for those two players, package them. I mean, earlier on, I run through trade ideas run through my mind all day, almost all day, every day. And one that I had in mind was sending away Vucevic to Philadelphia. I know that might be a little redundant, but I thought that would have been made good sense. But then Joel Embiid kind of became upset about his usage being pretty low, and I'm like, well, with Vucevic there, that would become even lower. So I'm like, that might not be the best idea. And looking around, there's not many teams who really need a Vucevic. All of them can use him, but there's not many teams that need a Vucevic right now. However, you need to find somebody to pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's not a lot of teams that necessarily need him, but he is an expiring contract, so trading him probably won't be very difficult.
Well, getting something good in return might be the difficult part.
Yeah, maybe you're right. All right, New Jersey Nets.
New Jersey Nets?
Brooklyn Nets, sorry. 17-19. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss here. I mean, this team is back to finally having cap space. I think Spencer Dinwiddie, the numbers he's putting off the bench. I think he went for like 39 last night. Yesterday was a double overtime game, I believe, for them. So, but anyway, he still went for a lot of points. He just re-signed a very reasonable contract. I think with him playing the way he's doing, I think the biggest move for them would be getting rid of D'Angelo Russell, making Spencer the starting point guard, and seeing if you can get some assets for D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest goal for them should be stay pat. Don't do anything stupid. Just don't do anything stupid. They may want to be buyers. That's fine. Make a small trade to be buyers. Make a small trade where you don't necessarily get rid of that cap space, even though you're more than likely not getting a Durant, a Kemba Walker. You're probably not going to get the top tier stars. You may get a bunch of second tier players on your team. Specifically, a player I just mentioned, Vucevic, might be a good fit there as a free agent. You could get a couple shooters. Perhaps you could sign Tyreke Evans to come there and maybe try to revive his career for a cheaper price. You're going to have a lot of money. You could sign about probably 3 to 4 good players in free agency. Don't do anything stupid. You brought up D'Angelo Russell. I don't necessarily disagree. You could try to use D'Angelo Russell and Rondae Hollis Jefferson, probably more Rondae Hollis Jefferson. If you really want to, you could use those guys as sweeteners to try to get rid of Allen Crabbe's contract to try to open up some more cap space. If you want to. There might be a team like Orlando or Phoenix willing to take on that additional year of Allen Crabbe to get Rondae Hollis Jefferson and D'Angelo Russell in return for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, now that you bring it, I think that's a trade that would kind of make sense for Orlando getting a D'Angelo Russell and seeing it. It'd be nice to see if he fits, and then you can make you can make a decision on if you're going to actually re-sign him and he can be your point guard for your future.
Yeah.
And maybe he could, because I don't think D'Angelo... I mean, I think D'Angelo has taken some heat in the past. I don't think he's the greatest point guard, but I don't think he's very bad.
Well, I've proposed this trade before, too, where you could send Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, D'Angelo Russell, both restricted free agents, along with Alan Crabb for perhaps a Evan Fournier and a Nikola Vucevic. I think both those players will make sense on Brooklyn, and the other players will make sense on Orlando. If you have to, if you're Brooklyn, maybe throw in Denver's first round pick since it's a high pick, but try to keep things in perspective.
All right, Miami Heat currently 16-7. They're the first playoff team in the East right now that we're going to discuss. Again, a team that has a lot of contracts that are not very smart or not very good. I don't necessarily know, not a lot of young assets besides maybe a Bam Adebayo and Justice Winslow finally maybe playing a little bit better. But I don't see much for the future. My thing with this team would, I mean, this might not be very popular, but see if you can get rid of some of these players and just blow it up a little bit.
I mean, yeah, getting rid of these players would be extremely hard. They are probably in the worst position out of any team in the league in terms of just future assets and future contracts. They got a lot of players signed for 2 additional years at over $10 million beyond this year. That more than any other team in the league. And not having their 2021 first round pick unprotected, missing a lot of second rounders, they are not in good shape. They are the worst shooting team in terms of field goal percentage in the league, and they're in a playoff spot right now. I don't know if I'm them. Do you really want to make the playoffs? I mean, I guess. Do you trade Wayne Ellington, who's probably one of their better shooters? Same with Rodney McGruger. Do you trade him? Do you try to get assets in return for these guys already being the worst field goal shooting team in the league? They're a solid 3-point shooting team. So, I mean, what do you do with those guys?
You might as well trade Wayne Ellington just because you're not going to re-sign them after this year. I mean, unless you want to be totally playing in the luxury tax.
Which they're paying this year already.
Yeah, but you're just going to be higher. I mean, maybe you can use Wayne Ellington as a person to get rid of one of these contracts like a Deion Waiters, but I mean, that's still super hard because of how many years you mentioned. So, yeah, this team's in bad position. Pat Riley seems like he's lost some of his NBA mojo here. I mean, again, they're going to make the playoffs just because they're not bad enough to get one of those best picks. But they really should be thinking about really, trying to figure out ways to blow this team up and just start rebuilding. But I know it's very hard looking at the type of contracts they have. Okay, so now the second playoff team, in the 7th seed right now, are the Charlotte Hornets. So, to trade Kemba Walker or not to trade?
For better and for, I mean, I have a very rebuilding mentality when these teams are as mediocre as Charlotte has been, and I think it would be the smartest thing for them to do. But I'm not the owner, and I'm not the one trying to make money. So it's easy for me to say that. Therefore, I don't think they're trading Kemba Walker for better or for worse. So try to improve the roster around him. I don't know how, but try to improve the roster around him is my goal. Perhaps take a swing on a Kevin Love. I mean, if Bradley Beal somehow becomes available, throw out one hell of a package out there for Bradley Beal to make sure they get him, perhaps including Otto Porter as well, Bradley Beal and Otto Porter. But yeah, I mean, try to build around Kemba Walker just because I do not think they're going to trade him for better or for worse again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I would. I know I don't believe they're going to be trading him, but I would try to trade him just because there is that fear that he could leave. So see if you can get something for him, and even if there's a chance that they get to keep Kemba Walker next year, I mean, what does that do for you realistically? You're still going to be this middle tier team, 7 or 8 seed. You're not going to get anyone to come to Charlotte. I don't think they even have the cap space to do it because of contracts like Batum. And
no, they would have to get creative.
So what's the point, in my opinion? I mean, if it continues to, and I know that there's an argument to be made that making the playoffs isn't a bad thing, and it does